Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Are you a new or experienced investor wanting to learn how to have a successful syndication business? Learn from the nation's leading syndication expert, my friend, Vinny Smile Chopra. He has created a multifamily academy where you will learn everything about deal analyzing to selecting emerging markets, managing assets, and much more. In the academy, you'll find over 500 lectures and templates to help you run a successful syndication business. Your membership also gives you access to Vinny every Wednesday through masterminding and coaching calls. Vinny came to the U.S. with only $7 and now is a CEO of 5 companies, acquiring and managing a portfolio of more than 3,500 units. He's completed 26 successful syndications ranging from 50 to 500 units and created a portfolio valued over $200 million in commercial real estate. He built the academy to teach and mentor investors like you to succeed. To learn more about the Multifamily Academy, text LEARN, L-E-A-R-N, to 474747 or call his team at 925-766-3518. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Mark Kenney. Thanks for being on the show again, Mark.
Hey, Whitney. Super excited to be on today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're always happy to have you back, Mark. I know as a listener, you heard Mark on show WS22, show 22. I would encourage you to go back and listen to that to learn more about him. And then also just the show we did yesterday, I would encourage you to learn about Mark and how he is helping so many people to get started into this business and different. He just laid out many ways that you can get started and partnering with someone else or different ways he laid out that you could take action today. So thank you again for that, Mark. But a little about Mark. I would encourage you to go back and listen to yesterday, but there were 20 years of extensive experience in property valuation, acquisition, and operations. He's a seasoned real estate investor, the founder of Think Multifamily. He's invested in over 4,300 units with a top-notch reputation, which I would agree. I've heard nothing but great things about Mark and Think Multifamily, and just honored to have you on again, Mark. But, today, a big topic in this industry is raising equity, raising that capital, talking to investors. And you're an expert in that. You're helping many people, learn that part of the business well. And in the last episode, we talked about, how in the beginning that you were terrified of that. You were really nervous, about making that happen. And I know the listeners can relate to that. I was in that boat as well. And would love to dive in and just really get your take on helping the listener to get started in that way and learn how to raise capital talking to investors.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as a CPA, IT guy, I wasn't the sales guy, the marketing guy, things like that. I mean, I indirectly, because I was kind of a one-man shop for the most part when I did my IT company. But the whole money piece, I alluded it in the previous episode that people struggle typically with, one of two major things. One's analyzing deals, the other one's raising equity. And mine was related to raising equity. And for me, you need to look at it as, hey, I'm not asking people for money. I have an opportunity. Most people don't even know they can invest, in deals like this, a syndication. Most people have never heard of the word syndication. So you're providing an opportunity for them that probably is better than any other investment they've ever done before. With that said, if you're new to this and you're like, hey, I'm going to go out and start raising capital, it's not very common where someone comes to me and will say, it was a lot easier raising money my first time than I thought it was going to be. It's usually like 99% of the time, it's the opposite. People think, if you never raised money before, I would say don't even guess. If a syndicator says, well, how much money do you think you can raise, Whitney? And you say, oh, I think I raised $1 million, no problem. How much have you raised before? 0. Okay, so you have no basis, right? You might be able to raise $1 million, maybe more. I don't know. But the reality is there's no basis there. So, when you're looking at it and you say, okay, well, I'm new. How do I do that? One, I would say partner with somebody that has a track record, just however you do that. We talked a little bit about that in the previous episode too. But with that, now you can say, hey, my partners and I own X number of doors and been doing it for, over 20 years. And, I'm just one person. They say, oh, aren't you new, Whitney? I'm newer to this. That's why I'm partnering with somebody. Or they think of you as, for me, well, aren't you in IT? Well, yeah, I was in IT, but now I'm doing this. So having that reputation of somebody else to rely on will help. It won't make it easy. It'll make it easier though. Then you say, well, how do I find people? Well, people. Sometimes it's harder, trying to get family or even friends and things like that because they look at you in a certain perspective. It could be good or bad, but getting out there to events, meeting people, I see it time and time again, and people in our group too. And we encourage them, hey, if you're gonna go to a meetup, you're gonna spend your whole weekend at an event. You spend money and time. And I've seen it. I've been in offices literally where 100 business cards or more sitting on somebody's office desk, and they've never followed up with anybody. They've gone through all that effort. I said, even at a minimum, if all you do is follow up with the people you meet at an event, you're further ahead than 99% of people out there. You just are. And it may result in nothing. It may result in a partnership that changes your life forever, or a friendship that changes your life. So follow up is key.
Couldn't agree more about the following up. And I've seen it so many times myself, as the quick shotgun approach with the business cards, right?
I don't like it.
That's right. And it's got to be that unique conversation, getting to know somebody, and then that genuine follow-up so important. But I wanted to back up a little bit. And you said like most people don't even know they can invest in a deal like this. And so how do you suggest, I know you talked about when you're new and we're partnering with somebody, so then we can kind of leverage their reputation some. But what's the best way you found for somebody that's pretty new to this industry to let others know in their sphere of influence that this is a great investment option?
First, I would say, as much as possible, let's say, I was in IT. So let's say I'm doing IT, and just start talking about, don't push stuff. Don't even provide an opportunity to people yet. But hey, I'm starting to do real estate now. It's really cool. I'm buying apartments, 100 plus units. So kind of getting that conversation going lightly at first versus like no one even knows it. And now I'm like, hey, I have this opportunity. It's too like a shock. So, hey, I'm doing real estate. And then on social media, start putting stuff out there where you're like, hey, whatever. I analyzed a deal today, man, that was rough or whatever. I looked at a property today, and just so people start seeing that. Now, the issue with social media is that it's useless unless you have people's contact. So we know a guy that had over 1 million people on YouTube, and he got cut off from YouTube forever. So literally lost 1 million people overnight. So what you want to be able to do, whether it's social media, wherever you're doing it, is, hey, have something of value. Talk about personal stuff here and there, and then throw some business stuff in there. And even if you're new, chances are you have something of value. Maybe it's a 10-step checklist or 10 things I learned about multifamily investing, whatever it is. You don't have to have done a deal in order to do that. But the idea is maybe you say, okay, well, hey, here are the top 3 things. You want to know the other 7? They click there and you ask them for an email address. My opinion, don't ask them for a phone number. Don't ask them for, a bunch of other stuff, because they won't fill it in. So have the form as simple as possible. But by doing that, then now you've captured, an email address. That's what you want. Now you have control over that outside of social media. And then, eventually you start doing more and more. You kind of add them to, one call it a funnel or whatever, and doing like a newsletter, monthly or quarterly. And it could be, hey, here's some personal stuff I'm doing. Here's some business stuff I've been doing, things like that. And start building that rapport. We have people all the time. I just talked to a guy yesterday. I've been watching you guys for 2 years. I don't even know who the guy was, and it happens all the time. People are trying to see, is this guy legit? Is Whitney legit? Is he going to be gone after a year? I don't know yet, right? So they're just watching you. So you need something of value. It doesn't have to be significant. Even on your website, if you're going to be in this business and you want to start raising capital, my opinion, don't have a Gmail account. Get your own domain. It's cheap. Get a one-page website if you want to. It doesn't have to be a fancy website. People think I need to look at somebody else's website. Oh my gosh, I need to do all that before I get started. No, just get one page up. Get started. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. That's something both my wife, Timo, and I struggle with, is that we we don't want to release stuff, lots of times. And we spend, frankly, too much time trying to perfect things. And the extra 1%, 2% might take you twice as long to do. So it's a balance. But, get a website, get business cards, get your own domain, and then start communicating with people. In my opinion, don't send them emails every day. They're gonna ignore them. Whatever the timing is, once a week, once a month, so people start seeing it. So people need to first see, if you're new, people need to see, oh, you're not new anymore. I saw Whitney. He's been posting for a year. Now you have a deal. It's a year later, Whitney has a deal. It's not the first time they're hearing about it. I saw Whitney. He toured some properties. He was talking about analyzing deals, and this must be a good deal because I know it took him a year to do it. So they need to kind of get, in my mind, slowly prepped into what you're doing versus like me walking into work next day and saying, hey, I have this deal, a multifamily deal. You want to invest in it? People are like, what are you talking? What? I didn't even know you're doing real estate. So that's key. And then, getting, capturing and building your list through events, through social media. Bigger Pockets is great. People reach out to us all the time on Bigger Pockets, but you have to respond back. Now, at some point in time, you're going to have people reach out to you, and this isn't to be whatever, and where you might not respond back. It happens now. I always respond to people, but now you get inundated with a bunch of lenders, and a bunch of, insurance people and things like that. You have to balance that, prioritize who, my whole thing was I have to respond to everybody. I mean, if you didn't hear from me within a day, that's something happened. It's just true. But now you have to prioritize. What's my biggest bang for the buck for my business? Well, for us, it's passive investors and coaching. So I have lenders, I have CPAs, I have attorneys, I have all. I'm not saying I couldn't maybe find a better one. I don't know. But reality is I'm not putting my effort into doing that. I'm putting my effort into what's going to help me build my business.
We know that responding and that follow-up is so important when we're raising capital, when we're connecting with investors. But, something you mentioned there is, something I deal with every day as well. It's like prioritizing, where my time is spent best and responding to all these, connections or phone calls or, like scheduling, 15-minute calls for many hours, just back to back to back to back to back. I do it all, like all week, I'm doing that. And sometimes like, okay, I've got to block some time off just so I can get, make certain that I'm responding to emails every day, which like seem to pile up massively, and how do you, how do you manage that? How do you know where your time is best spent? And do you time block? Do you have other things that say, okay, we're going to spend this much time in Bigger Pockets or Facebook or, how do you do that?
I don't do a very good job, frankly, of it. I don't. It's something, we have a business coach. I mentioned we just hired, yesterday's episode. So, and that's one of the big things he has for us is time management. So I've been very efficient at it, but I can do way better, but I don't do a very good job time blocking. It's just reality. Now, I have a different philosophy, and we'll see what our business coach says, but let's say I have 30 things to do. And one's a high priority and, 5 are lower priorities, but it's going to take me 2 minutes to do them. I do the 5 that are lower priority because I don't want to have in my mind, I have 30 things to get through in the next 2 hours. I only have 25 now because I spent, 10 minutes and got through 5 of them. So people might disagree with me on that, but for me, from a mindset standpoint, it helps me to get through. So if you prioritize, can I respond to this email within, 2 minutes? Is this going to be, 10 minutes? Or is it going to be like a half hour? Things like that. So I know someone that, does like ABC for the emails and have folders for them. And they throw, as soon as they get the email, they throw it in A, B, or C based on how much time it's going to take them to do that. But it's important because you'll find that you spend a lot of time, if you really, journal down what you spend on time, which I don't do a good job on, frankly. Like I'll be in writing something and an email comes in. I flip over, start reading the email. I'll start go back to writing. But no, stop doing that. It's like, nothing, unless it's absolutely urgent, then you're basically wasting time. You're distracting yourself. And I'm guilty of that. And it's something I need to do a better job of.
Do you use any kind of task management software?
We use Asana.
Okay.
Asana's been, it has really helped our business tremendously. So yeah, we use Asana for task management.
Awesome. Any other tools like that that's really helped you with staying organized and getting back to people, obviously, and raising capital as well?
No, I mean, we pretty
CRM.
much use Active Campaign for contacts, and we use ClickFunnels for the funnel piece and things like that. But as far as the kind of just getting back with people, it's pretty much just email, and I'm always been and always will be very responsive. The response could be, I'm tied up in a meeting and get back with you in an hour, but I want people to know that, hey, I'm not ignoring you. We know, I mean, you could actually, any investor that in any of our deal, how responsive we are to them. We're very, very responsive. And in reality, a lot of people aren't. So if you can do that one thing, you're further ahead than most people.
So, we've covered that, we're talking to this individual and we can explain that it's an opportunity. We're not asking for money. You elaborated on having some kind of website, having a better email, domain. So you look a little more professional, some of those things, which can really put you above so many people, right? That are trying to get started and raising capital, communicating, following up, not just letting those business cards, sit there, but how do we get those business cards? How do we find those people? You started to go into like going to events and to find these people. Well, what kind of events do you recommend? I know getting started, I've been to so many events, over the last year to 2 years and have traveled a lot. But they've all been real estate events, and I've connected with many investors, at those events who have invested in opportunities. But is that what you recommend? What kind of events?
Yeah, it depends kind of what your focus is. For us, we have two pieces of our business. One is passive investors, and the other one is coaching. So sometimes the events that we might be more interested in will be different. So if you go to a syndication event, and if your goal is to find passive investors, might not be the best event. If your goal is to find a partner to partner up with on a syndication, it's probably a great event. So there are, we've been, Joe Farrell's event, Adam Adams, and things like that. Love those events. But if you're just passive, there are other events like there's a New Orleans conference that's usually around. It's usually started like with gold and stuff like that, but now it's turned into a lot of other things. We went to that a couple of years ago. A lot of high net worth people there. It's a very different event. Just the feel, the vibe, kind of old school, let's say. Not a lot of energy, but there are people there that want to invest. We got a couple investors out of there that were high net worth. So it doesn't have to be real estate. Now, if someone's invested in real estate before, that's the easiest thing. So let's say, for example, put events aside for a second. If you have a website, people start reaching out to you. And you want to know what they're reaching out to you for. We didn't do this before, we do now. Are you reaching out to me for coaching, for investments, blah, blah. If they say for investments, you might follow up with them with an email, with a questionnaire, 5 or 6 questions. Have you ever invested in real estate before? How much money you plan investing? Now, this isn't me again. If someone says, hey, I never invested in real estate before and I have no money to my name, but I want to get started in real estate. Probably not a good passive investor. They go way low on the list. They just do. Someone says, hey, I invested in real estate before. I have, $1 million I want to invest over the next year. Probably goes pretty high on your list. So going to events that are not just real estate, but people with high net worth are going to things like wine things, right? People that are wine typically, I don't really like wine, but reality, or I love cars, going to car shows, boat shows. Things you wouldn't really think about. But someone that's buying a $300,000, $400,000 boat probably has some money. So it depends what your focus is. If it's passive investing, I would focus on definitely meetups and some of the maybe the IRA type events. People there are typically interested in investing, and then some of the non-real estate events. But still, I would go to the real estate events too. But it's a balance. You could go to an event every single weekend, go to meetup almost every day, and you just have to balance it. How much time can you spend doing that?
I like the thinking out of the box there too, with the car shows, boat shows, some of that. And especially if that's something you're interested in too, like you're talking about, you're interested in cars. So it's going to be much easier for you to stand next to that fancy car, whatever it may be that you're interested in, talk to this individual that owns it, and you all kind of share that connection. and then not ever talk about business right away, but at least to start that conversation and that relationship.
Happens all the time. People, when I find out someone, they're like, oh my gosh, we'll spend a half hour talking about nothing related to business, but if, it's hard for me to just go to a wine tasting thing, frankly. I mean, if my wife to meal with me, it's easier, but because she does like wine. Okay. But we just go there. I mean, first of all, I don't drink wine, so that's silly. Right. And then I don't know anything about it. So for me, just go there. I mean, people are gonna be like, "What do you think about the wine?" Oh, I don't know. I don't drink. Doesn't make a lot of sense, probably, right? So, or you go to the car show, right? What do you think about this? What kind is it? Or find those things. Or I don't smoke cigars, but cigar places. I know people go there, and actually met a number of people. I don't know what it is, but it's another venue that people typically have money that go there.
Yeah, somebody told me the other day I needed to smoke more cigars with people and play more golf, and I said, I don't do either one. So, it's going to be obvious when I get there. That's first time.
That's right.
So what about the follow-up? Let's say you did have that conversation with the guy at the car, you all really hit it off. What's the next follow-up going to be? What's that going to look like?
I would, or even an event, sometimes your time that you meet somebody is short. But I would say, hey, email them after. Hey, do you mind if we jump on a call? Talk a little bit further where it might be. Try to get on the phone as much as you can. And at first, it's not a problem because you're probably not talking to 100 people, right? Maybe it's 10 at an event that you really kind of meet and connect with and things like that, wherever the number is. Follow up with them, get on the phone, just try to understand. You want to understand what they've been doing before, because that's going to be a good indication of what they're going to do in the future. What they liked about what they're doing before. So if they say, oh, I invested in stock market. Oh, yeah, how's it? And they're like, oh, the roller coaster, I don't like it. Well, that's good. Or it's like, I'm killing it in the stock market. I've never lost a penny, but might be a harder person to convert. You might get them to be able to diversify, but really understanding what they've done before, what their goals are. And ultimately, you want to know what they have to invest. Not necessarily what they're willing to invest yet, because you don't know what they have to invest. If someone doesn't have any money to invest, they're not a good passive investor. Just reality. There are many ways for people to invest they don't even know about, through their retirement funds. Most people don't think they can do that. Infinite banking, people don't know they can invest that way. And so there are a number of ways, or, borrow against their 401k. And so people are like, oh my God, or a HELOC loan. Oh my, these are all different ways I could do it. I didn't even know I could do that. So there might be educating. I talk to people all the time about different aspects. And for me to be able to say, oh, hey, I have a CPA you should talk to, or you should talk to Damien Lupo about a EQRP first before you do an IRA, and then you decide which one you want. And someone reached out to me just today. I'm not actually. And she asked me about CPA and asked me about Damien. So those are things that giving back. I have people that will ask me, hey, I'm interested in mobile home park investing. Hey, I'm not the guy for that. Actually, I do invest in passively, but I know who the guy is. So here's a contact, or self-storage. So don't look at it as you're giving away an investor. You're doing something to help the investor, and it'll come back.
Wow. Great advice. And Damien, I just had him on the show as well. And we talked about about how to use that vehicle. He used that analogy a lot about the vehicle, and it's another vehicle or a better vehicle that you're in the driver's seat of, but
right.
Awesome. And even things like that you could educate yourself a little bit to tell people about, because like you said, they don't even know that's an option most of the time. I wouldn't have.
And most people, like when they talk about self-directed IRA, and I'll say, that's great. I've done that before too. I have an EQRP now, but do you know the IRA could be taxed? What are you? It's the IRA. Well, you kind of tell them, UDFI, and going all the details. But here's someone you should talk to further about it. I would always shy away. I had someone today that asked me about the QRP and said, hey, if I'm doing this, I'm not self-employed, blah, 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 is it an option? And they're asking me. And I said, I don't want to give, advice on that. The expert is Damien. You should speak to him. People want you to guess, speculate, and even investors want you to do that. Now, when do you think this is going to be? How much do you think it's going to cost for this? How did I get yesterday at a meetup? We're converting some units from three bedroom to 2 bedroom in efficiency. It's going to result like $500 extra a month in rent in these deals per unit. And he's an investor in the deal. And he's like, well, how much is it going to be to do that? I'm like, we literally just found out this 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Well, if you had to guess, but I'm like, I hate doing that. I'm like, so I threw a number out. Probably should have said I'm not going to guess. Normally I'll say I'm just not going to guess. I threw a number out which I thought was probably reasonable, but just don't guess. Don't guess on time frames necessarily. You can only use information you have. So that goes into the investors once they're in a deal, what happens.
So now this person you met at the car show, you followed up numerous times, you've had conversation, and they finally say, okay, Mark, I'm really interested in this, this syndication thing you've told me about, and you've been, sent me a few emails about it and helped educate me. What's going to be your follow up then? After they've said, yeah, I'm ready. I'd really like to invest in the next opportunity. Yeah,
if you understand the type of deal that they're interested in. Now, if they're like, hey, I'm interested, you might send them an old deal. Like don't send them in my mind the private placement memorandum and everything unless they ask for it. But you send them an old deck, PowerPoint, PDF, whatever it is, 20 pager. Here's a deal we did before. This is a deal similar to what we typically do. So they can start seeing, I kind of, understand a little bit more, and they can ask more educated questions that way too. Better off having them go slow. And, some people get really, frustrated when investors ask questions. And in reality, some investors will be a pain. I had a guy literally send me 40 questions to answer, 40 written questions. And I could have just said, probably not, but I did. I answered the questions. The plus side of that is if the guy actually ends up investing in a deal, he probably has done a lot of homework. So it might not be as big of a pain. But yeah, following up, and then if you have the relationship with them, things like that, then you can just start sending them deals and say, hey, I'll add you to our list of, for investments. We do a lot of different type of investments. Some might fit, some might not. But if something looks interesting to you, just let me know. We can jump on a call, and then kind of do it that way.
Okay. And this following up piece is so important. I thought we would sit here for a minute before we run out of time. Okay, so now they've invested in a deal. The deal's closed. What's your follow-up process then?
Yeah, so we do monthly reporting, and that will include, all the financials, things like that. And that's pretty much it. Now, some investors that are new don't realize that it takes you, usually a month and a half or maybe a little longer to get the reports per month. So if I'm in, January's report won't be ready till mid-February or the 20th of February. So there's a delay there. But yeah, it's just monthly reporting essentially.
And can you tell us anything else that you might include in there to educate investors about the deal or give them information, or, are you going to provide, I've seen both ways, I'm going to give them some bullet points. This is what's happening, or we're going to provide like as much information as possible, and where some investors are going to be confused then or have more questions. Yeah. Or
I would say a summary of what's going on for sure. And then additional information that's, a link or attachment that they open. Some people will never open it, but kind of typically people want to know, end of the day, they don't care how you're doing it. Are we on track or not? That's what they want to know. What's the occupancy look like? If you're doing rehab and things like that, taking pictures, putting pictures out there or videos out there is a tremendous help. People get to kind of see visually what's going on. But it's like you said, if you said, well, hey, a 2-page written thing about what's going on, it's just too much. In some management companies, we have some that give us the reports are like killer reports. We have other management companies that give us just kind of the basics. Just the financials, no summary, no commentary. So it varies depending who your management company is.
Wow. Mark, unfortunately, we're out of time, but it's been great to have you on the show again and learn more about your all's business and just this topic, which is so hot right now in the industry because people trying to get started is raising capital. And that follow up, I know we beat that to death, but it's so important. And like you said, 90% of people leave those cards sitting there and never touch them. And so just following up even once will put you ahead of most people that are trying to get started. Right. But any other comments about getting started possibly before we close it up?
No, I just say you're going to be nervous and scared probably before you do it. Try to start on somebody else's deal, getting started with the capital raise. There's some legal aspects of that, how you can and can't do that. I won't go into all of that. But if you're able to get in a position where you're helping somebody else on their deal legally, to raise money, that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. Mark, yeah, and I will ask you again, though, because I want you to be able to share that, how you all like to give back.
Yeah, so for us, two main areas, it's orphans and sex traffic industry. We've been doing that for a real long time. Actually, Tamil was on a board for 13 years. I was on board for an orphanage, and we're not really on that right now, do some business and family and things like that, but we still support them. Those are areas that we're passionate about, and we'll continue to support.
And I wanted to ask you too, the number one thing that's contributed to your success.
Grit. I don't know. Don't give up. If it's something you want, you might find out it's not something you want, and you're not willing to put that effort in there, and that's okay, because then you know. But if it is something you want, don't give up. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to have all these, the stress, but don't give up.
Awesome. Well, tell people how they can get in touch with you. And I know you have some events coming up that we definitely want them to hear about, because if they're learning this industry, learning how to raise capital, they need to be there. Tell them where to find it.
Yeah, my email is Mark, M-A-R-K, at thinkmultifamily.com. And then our website, thinkmultifamily.com, under events. We have a 2-day fire summit talking about how to raise capital along with other aspects of multifamily investing. And then we have a deal analysis class as well, where we work through deals together. Bring your own computer. Both those are on our website.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.